I recognize the Vice Chairman of the full committee, Dr. Joyce, for your 5 minutes of questioning.
First, I want to thank Chairman Bilirakis for holding this important hearing and for allowing me to wave on. I also want to thank the witnesses for appearing. The unique nature of college athletics is something that's firmly embedded in American sports, in our psyche and in our culture. Millions of Americans have been able to attend college and excel both on and off the field because of the opportunities that the NCAA and their member institutions offer. In the wake of the Alston decision in 2021 and the changes in the NIL policy, we recognize that the amateur model that had existed at colleges across the country must evolve. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, steps have already been taken to ensure that student athletes can navigate the evolving NIL landscapes responsibly. Penn State has been a leader in ensuring that NIL opportunities are both beneficial and sustainable by offering robust financial literacy programs and prioritizing student-athlete well-being. This year, Penn State Athletics announced the creation of the ROAR Solutions, a powerful and dynamic group of resources assembled to deliver the best student-athletes endorsements and support in the country. This collaboration between the university and the world-class student-athletes at Penn State, like NFL player Mike Gesicki, sports commentator Adam Brenneman, and 2025 Super Bowl champion Saquon Barkley, will help to tell the unique stories and propel their careers forward. Besides my alma mater of Penn State, Pennsylvania hosts 14 other D1 schools. These universities range from large universities like the University of Pittsburgh and Temple to smaller colleges like Bucknell and St. Francis University. The experience of being a student athlete not only prepares great academic opportunities, but allows young adults to enter the world after college. In my own congressional office, we have an outstanding example of this. Lily Benzel, a former St. Francis University basketball superstar and three-point specialist, whom I am proud to have as my director of operations. As we consider NIL as legislators, we must examine this issue and the impact that any action will not only have on big teams like Penn State, but also the ripple effects that this might have on St. Francis University women's basketball team, the Shippensburg baseball team, the Juniata College Volleyball National Championship team, and the thousands of athletes who compete and go to school every day in Pennsylvania 13. Mr. Whitman, in 2021, Pennsylvania's NIL law went into effect, and subsequently, they have had to amend their law several times, largely to respond to other states seeking a competitive advantage in the recruiting of athletes. Additionally, states are now looking to other laws, as we have discussed, to do the same regarding tax law. What are the dangers to this approach when states are creating and amending tax laws to seek competitive advantages in college sports?
Thank you, Congressman. I think your question strikes at the challenge that we confront, and the reason we're all here today is the need to identify a standardized playing field for college athletics. And as states have become increasingly active in passing legislation to benefit their hometown institutions, that's a new phenomenon. That's not something we have experienced in college athletics in the past, and I believe it's antithetical to the purpose of college athletics, which again is to educate our student athletes, but also to provide them a world-class competitive opportunity on the most fair and even playing field that we can create. And the only way at this point in time for us to be able to do that is to get some support from the federal government and ultimately to preempt those state efforts.
Ms. Cole, as a student athlete who has to deal with the ever-evolving situation, in your opinion, what are the greatest misconceptions that the public has about NIL?
That is a great question, and I think the main misconception that I've seen is, people really only think of like football and collectives whenever this conversation comes up, and it's really under like two different buckets. There's also the whole legitimate NIL side of actually working with brands separately on these different brand deals, and so there really are like two different buckets, and I think a lot of people get them confused. But a lot of my experience and expertise is totally within the more working with companies to do brand partnerships, which is separate from the collective conversation.
Coach Beamer, with the remaining time, I wanted to see if there's anything that we haven't discussed today that should be brought into this conversation regarding NIL from your perch.
No, I think it's been very beneficial for all of us, without a doubt, that we're all pro-student athlete, but making sure that we understand it's still about the educational experience. And it hasn't been mentioned, but there's a lot of rules that have come up. There's a lot of laws that have been changed and talked about. One thing that hasn't changed is student athletes still have to go to school to be eligible to compete in college athletics, and just making sure that we don't get too far away from the educational model as it stands right now.
Coach Beamer, I'm glad that you put that exclamation point on the question, because the educational model, the experience is important, but to walk away with a Class A educational experience is what student athletes should want to achieve. Mr. Chairman, again, I thank you for allowing me to wave on, and I yield back.